Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to add structures and add it to your world. Also, just so you know, I'll be building off the most recent Biomes code, which I will post a GitHub link below for you. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and to get new notifications on new videos I put out. So let's get started here. So what I'll do is I will add in Biomes here in this mod initializer part. I will just add another line. I'll add a structures comment, and then I will comment this as biomes. So all this section down here is all for biomes, and then this section here will be for structures. So first thing I'll do is I'll do a public static final, and I'll call this structure piece type. I'll call this my piece, and then we'll just call this my piece, and then we'll just create a new. Then we'll create two private static finals. So our first one will be here, and we'll call this structure feature, and then we'll put that inside these here, and we'll call this default feature config, and then we'll call this my structure. And then this will be a new, and we'll call this structure 1. And then we will call default feature config, and we'll call this codec. And then our second private static final will be configured structure feature. And then just put that there, and then we'll call this my configured, and then it'll be my structure configure, and then this will be the same default feature config. Just copy that, paste that into there, and then we'll call this default. Okay, so we have a couple problems here. One, we don't have structure 1, which is a new class, and then we don't have a function called myPiece. In this Biomes Java file, we will go to the onInitialize function, and we will quickly initialize the code that we haven't quite written yet. So I have commented this as biomes, and then I'll just create another comment, and I'll just call this, I don't know, the same as before, just structures. Then from here, we'll do registry, and then register, registry, structure piece, and then this ID, it'll be a new identifier. And then we'll have to do two things. We'll name the mod ID, so this will be biomes. And then we'll call the piece, so we'll just call this my underscore piece. And then the entry, that will be my piece. And then we will set up a fabric structure builder, and then we will create. Then we'll create a new identifier, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just use the mod ID, and then we will call the structure. So we'll call my structure, and then the structure name, again, it will just be my structure. So my structure. We're not going to close off this yet. We'll add a few things. So we'll add something called step, and then we will add something called default config. And then we will call this adjusts surface. And then we'll do a register. All right, so for step, we'll just call feature generation step feature, and this will be surface structure. And then we will add the arguments in. So these are the ints, the integer values for default config. So we'll just set this to 32, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are just default that I'm aware of. This doesn't need anything, and that doesn't need anything. Okay, and then so next line, we'll add a registry key. And then we will call configured structure feature. And then inside of this, we will need a little question mark bit that we added at the top. And then we'll call my configured equals registry key of, and then we'll do a new registry. And then will be configured structure feature Worldgen. And then the value, we'll just create a new line. Will be a new identifier. And then this will be the biome ID again, so biomes. And then it'll be my structure, my underscore structure. I'll close that off. And then we'll add a built-in registry. We will need to add in 3 things. So we'll add in a built-in registries configured structure feature. And then we'll add in my configured, and then we'll get that value. And then it'll be my configured. Close that off. And then our last step, to register the whole thing so that it shows up in the world, we'll do a biome modifications. We'll add structure. And this will be the biome selector. And we'll just select, you can select specific ones, but we'll just set this to all. And then it'll be my configured that we had set up at top there, above this here, and that is done. Okay, so we still got our 2 problems here because we need to create these files and this class. So I created 3 files here. Our first file will be called structure1. So this one it just creates a feature. It's a basic feature, and it will just show up in the world as a structure feature. Second file I created here was my generator. So you need to create a generator in order to generate structure files, and so that's what that is. And then to add pieces, which is in each individual structure has individual pieces to it, so it has a top, bottom, left, right, whatever. Some are just the whole thing, but this just kind of generates the whole system, and so that's why I'm creating that. So I created 3 files here. So my first one here that I'm going to start off with is my generator. So I called this public class my generator. I will create a private static final identifier. We'll just add in an igloo, and then we'll start an identifier, and then we'll call the ID of the NBT file of that specific piece that we want to generate. So this will be igloo top. And there are literally hundreds of these types of files, so we can go through them all. But just for this purpose sake, we'll just create one more here. So private static final identifier. And then I'll just call this skull1. And then create a new identifier. And then the NBT name location for this is fossil skull underscore 1. All right, so under this, we'll create a public static void. We'll add pieces. This is the name of the function. We'll call structure manager. And set the manager, and then we'll call block position, so block POS, and then we'll call block rotation, and we'll call this rotation, and then we will make a list, and we'll call structure piece, and then we'll call this pieces. And then in here, we will add in the logic, so pieces, dot add, new, and then call this my piece, and then we have to add in these constructors. And instead of rotation, we'll call this igloo top, or sorry, instead of pieces, we'll call this igloo top, and then we'll put rotation after here. All right, so next what we'll need to do is we'll need to go to our feature. So I called this structure 1, and so underneath here, I've just extended structure feature, default feature config, and then we will need to create a public structure 1, which will be the name of the file here. And then we will call codec, and then this will be default feature config, codec, and this will be a super, and this will just be codec. All right, and now underneath this, we'll do public structure feature, structure start factory, and this will be default feature config, and then this will be get structure start factory, and then we will put in a return to start new, and that will throw an error, of course, so we'll move on. We'll fix that later. Public static class start, and then extends structure start. This will be default feature config again. And inside of this, I'll add in another function, public start, and this will be structure feature, default feature config again, and then we'll add in these int, and then this will be chunk x int chunk z, and then this will be a block box, call this box, and this will be int references, and then we'll add a long, and this will just be seed, and then we'll create that super class, and of course that'll be everything that we've created here. So feature chunk x chunk z box references and seed. And so we'll have to add in unimplemented methods. So next, add in a public void init. And inside here, we'll do a dynamic registry manager, and then we'll call registry manager, and then chunk generator. And then I'll just call this chunk generator, and then structure manager. And I'll just call this manager, and then int chunk x. Int chunk y, no, z, and then biome, and then default feature config. Make that to a second line here, it's easier to read. So now we're going to set up every variable here. So int x equals chunk x times 16. Int z equals chunk z times 16. And then we'll do int y and then we'll do chunk generator, get height. This will be x, z, height map type, but we'll just call this height map. And then this will be type, and then this will be world surface WG. Then block position now. PLS equals new block position. And then this has to be an X, Y, Z. So X, Y, Z. Then we'll call rotation. And this will have to be block rotation, random, and then this random. And my generator, add pieces. And then we'll have to set this to manager, POS, rotation, and then pieces will be this dot children, and this set bounding blocks from children. Structured feature, to set this as at override. Fix these. Okay, next thing we need to do is we need to create the file a piece, and then we'll extend simple structured piece. We need to create some variables here, so we'll just create public final block rotation, final identifier template. Then create this function, my piece, call it structure manager, and then we'll just call it structure manager, and then compound tag, and then we'll make a super class, call this Biomes. Yes, my piece. So this is our mod ID. This is the file that I'm referencing is biomes.java. And then inside of that file that we created a my piece name here. That's what we're referencing. And under the super, we'll create the compound tag. Then we're going to call this template equals new identifier. Compound tag get string, and then we'll just call this template. And then this rotation equals block rotation, value of compound tag get string, and this will be ROT, and this initialize structure data. And then we'll use structure manager. And next line will be public my piece. And then here we'll do structure manager. Block POS, identifier, template, and then block rotation. Then create the superclass here. This will be Biomes, my piece, 0. This POS. This POS, this rotation equals rotation, this template equals template, this initialize structure data, structure manager. We'll fix those after. So then we'll create a private void initialize structure data. And then create some methods here, structure manager. And structure equals structure manager. And get structure or blank. And then it'll be this template. Then structure placement data will be new structure placement data. And then we will just set rotation. That'll be this rotation. And then set mirror. Block mirror dot none. And then this will be set none. Add processor. And then it'll be block ignore structure processor. Ignore structure blocks. And then we'll create this. Set structure data. Call this structure and this position and placement data. A few more lines here. So here we'll do protected void to NBT, and then we'll look for compound tag. We'll call this tag, and then superclass super to NBT tag, and then this tag, it'll be put string, and then the key will be template, so the two that we created up top there, so template and ROT, and then the value will be this template to string tag put string ROT, and it'll be this rotation name. And then we'll need to create another protected void handle metadata. And then this will be an override function. And then we'll call this string metadata block POS server world access random. This will be block POS box actually. This will just be the bounding box. Okay, so I imported all of the files here. So these are all the imports to show green in here. All right, now let's go ahead and test it. Okay, so in order to locate it, we'll just do locate, and then we'll call this Biomes, which is my mod ID, and then my structure. So it looks like it found one, so just click to teleport. Boom. There we go.